Doma Sports Talk worldwide with some news from the world of boxing. So y'all know what time it is. You ain't in a rush to get concussed. Now everybody probably know about the pretty big fight over the weekend. With Gary Russell Jr., the longest reigning champion we got down there in the featherweight division against Magsayo, right? Manny Pacquiao protege, undefeated guy, right? Coming here and messing with Gary Russell, who we know is a supremely talented person, and we get an upset. But I'm pretty sure everybody knows about that upset, right? I waited the next day, check it out, in peace, and checking it out, and I got a few things that's irking me. First thing come to mind is you getting the Rigondeaux treatment. Guillermo Taz, or as he says, El Chacal Rigondeaux, gets the same treatment. Very good fight. As a 42-year-old man, made up champion, and Casemiro looked pedestrian, never hit him, avoided his punches all the time, but it wasn't celebrated. We called it running. I remember just watched Canelo Alvarez versus Jacobs, and when Canelo was making Jacobs miss with this here, just that here, basically. That's all. It was just his defense is impeccable, and it is. But so is Guillermo Rigondeaux, and of course so is Gary Russell Jr. Now, when you're looking at that fight, we understood that my man Gary Russell Jr., Southpaw, he hit my man Magsayo with a nice right hand, right? And but he hurt his shoulder in round 4 with that right hand. Up until then, the fight was pretty much even. I had to fight. Matter of fact, Russell up to round 7 by 2 rounds, right? So. But he was fought with round 4 with a badly hurt shoulder. We all know that. Matter of fact, the audience knew that. The commentators knew that. Magsayo, he knew that as well. It was a round 4. And when you're looking at a guy who obviously would hit you with that right hand jab the whole time, and he has a good jab, they say he throws 37 around, a lot of jabs, more than most people in boxing, then all of a sudden he goes down to 0 in several rounds. We have an obviously hurt shoulder. This ain't no Lomachenko or Manny Pacquiao type of thing here. An obvious shoulder where he wasn't really using it at all. So you're looking at that point, the narrative should have been as good of a job that Russell was able to do. But the narrative is nothing. He got beat by a majority decision, 114, one card, and I think the other 2 cards, 115, 113. I think, Magsayo did come on at the later rounds, was applying pressure, understanding that the man couldn't really do nothing but try to hit him with one punch the whole time. But I just thought the defense and the fact that Gary Russell was hitting him with that one punch a whole lot of times, and everybody knew he was with one arm. I think that should be the narrative. And I'd also be honest with you, I don't think that a champion should lose a fight like that, right? I think if it's that close, then it should go to the champion. I've been saying this consistently. Matter of fact, George Foreman, if with these, then George Foreman lost to Axel Schultz. And Felix Storm beat Oscar De La Hoya. But sometimes, some of these, champions get a close decision like this. Seeing as though the man, couldn't use his arm at all, and we know it, we should have gave him props for that. Matter of fact, some people, when you're in the audience and you're talking all this smack, and you just paid to get down there and watch a fight like that, and he stops because of a shoulder. Hey, I know one of my favorite heavyweights ever, who I have in the top 10 heavyweights of all time, is Vitaly Klitschko. I seen him stop in a fight against Chris Bird in the last round because one of his shoulders was hurt. And he's 6'7", 200-something pounds, and Chris Bird about 6'1", and don't have no punching power, not when you consider him at heavyweight at the time. And he stopped one round, leading. I think Klitschko was winning every round. Stopped in the last round because he knew what was wrong with his shoulder. That's probably because he's a doctor, knew exactly what was wrong. But you could have still came out and threw some jabs for one round against Chris damn Bird. It wasn't Tyson in there. It was Chris Bird. He stopped. So that, people could stop. That was an option, and he didn't. He fought through it knowing he was badly hurt. And the narrative in the fight, it was incredible because the narrative was when you saw that live, the commentators told you, oh, well, he's hurt. He got hit by Magsayo, right? And so when the replay came on, he was like, watch, he gets hit by Magsayo, and then he goes off balance, and they found out he got hurt because he hit Magsayo bad, really with a good shot, and he's hurt his own shoulder, and that's when he flopped down. He wasn't hurt from Magsayo, but if they would have the replays, and a couple of them replays showed that what they was trying to say wasn't right. My man was piecing him up. Russell was piecing up Magsayo. Magsayo was coming forward, did pretty good. I don't think he did enough to win the fight, though. Not from a champion. To take the belts from a one-armed champion, I think we should be saying, hey, man, you supposed to go in here and get this little guy out of here. You're taller, got more range, you're supposed to be the harder puncher. You got a guy that doesn't punch that hard, and he's just there, right? But, you know, you just got to get him out of there. He's not that much hard of a puncher. You should be able to do this with one arm. Nothing like that, right? And brings me to another point. We ain't hearing no rematch talk, right? We're not hearing no rematch talk because people know with two arms, this is a different fight, right? The man couldn't even jab. Now, he's smaller, but he still would have been able to jab with Magsayo, and we know it, right? So that's why I don't hear any rematch. I let some time, what is it, 12, 16 hours since that fight, and no articles are talking about a rematch, right? For some reason. Canelo didn't have to rematch Lara, but I tell you one damn thing, Andre Ward had to rematch Kovalev. Shoot, Floyd Mayweather had to rematch Madonna. It was, you know, it's a little bit, you know, if brother gets done, he lost, let's move on. That's how that works. Brother lost, let's move on. No, the champion barely lost a damn fight with one arm, and we know it. Everybody should want the rematch, and immediately. No one's talking about that. Immediate rematch, because the champion, the longest reigning champion, and I'm going to be fair, the longest reigning champion needs a rematch because he's been the longest reigning champion. He's supremely good, and everybody knows that he was off for 2 years and he got hurt, right? But to this long and reigning, I ain't for that either. Yeah, he's been reigning for 7 years, but he's had 6 fights in 7 years, which means let's cut that down to 3 years reigning. You know, we could count 2 fights a year, can't we? Can't be talking about longest reigning when somebody fight one time a year, then you gonna reign long. That's, you know, that can get me to other stuff I don't like calling people 4-5 division champions, and they ain't never ever fought the hardest one in any of the divisions, and that's Canelo I'm talking about. Like really, never in one of them divisions has he ever fought the hardest dude, or the second hardest, right? So that's the problem, you know, you have with that. Pacquiao, an 8 division champion. We just said, blurt that out there like it's 8 divisions. And, you know, we got talking IBO titles and regular titles and catch weights. Those don't really count if we're going to start doing that. And it's not a slight to the people right now. It's a slight to the people that were living before, that were boxing before. They didn't have the opportunity to fight 5 or 6 different damn champions in every little weight division when there wasn't no junior welterweights and no super. You see what I'm saying? There wasn't no juniors and supers. We had a few weight divisions at the time. I think, was it 12 or something? Not mistaken, it was 7. You know, it's like, hey, boom, you lightweight, welterweight, middleweight, light heavyweight, heavyweight. All that in between stuff wasn't there. And then 5 or 6 champions in each one of them, that wasn't popping off then. So when you're talking about that, you know, all these divisions and stuff, that's slighting the people that did it before. So if you're going to have all these divisions, then damn it, fight the best one in it, if we're going to call them that. So I ain't trying to say longest reigning, because 7 years and 6 fights, you know, you ain't got 6 fights. 7 years, you want to have about at least 10, 12 fights, don't you? So that's the only reason about that. But I mean, it is what it is. Now, we can agree that this is a real shoulder injury, right? We can be, you know, that he's a real shoulder injury, right? So let's make sure that a guy that gets a real shoulder injury should get another shot. Matter of fact, I don't think Gary Russell lost that fight. I think it was a very close fight. I think Gary Russell was doing very well early. I was just listening to the narrative of people talking. Sometimes they just got a tendency to be talking about something when Gary Russell lands. And you don't really hear, oh, good shot from Russell. Didn't hear that much. As many times as I saw a good straight right hand land, I just didn't hear, oh, good shot for Russell. It's always somebody being talked about. Now, you know, I know how people think. You know, it's like, hey, the brother, he's trying to, you know, it's another brother and this and that, right? Gary Russell Jr. I wasn't really into before because I know he's supremely confident, supremely talented. And so I don't follow him that much because lower weights anyway is a problem for me unless I see something good like Guillermo Rigondeaux popping off down there. But other than that, not too much. And Gary Russell, you know, all the talking, there's not too many fighting pop off. We know he's great, but it's just not too many fighting. So then I get not interested. So I wasn't really interested in the fight. But going back and watching it, I'm thinking, you know, we got Pacquiao protege, somebody gonna come in. He's you know, I was looking at round 6 when Gary Russell won round 6, in my opinion, with one hand and absolutely no jabs. Now I don't know if that's unprecedented, but I've really think that's pretty close to unprecedented to win a round with no jabs at all, and everybody know you're hurt. And I think he run round 6, right? So to do that is pretty awesome. But at that point, I was saying to myself, well, if Magsayo gonna win this fight, because I knew he was gonna win, then I'm hoping to see a knockdown or something, or a whole lot of staggering or something. Gary Russell gonna have to get hurt or something up in here, and that didn't happen. So I'm not sure, people. If people really think that Magsayo won that fight, then there should be an outcry, right? An outrage, and we need a push for an immediate rematch. Let this guy's shoulder heal or whatever, or if he gets an operation, then we probably can't get an immediate then, but he should be right back in line, especially if he's been the longest reigning champion, to get a rematch, and against that guy. Let's not move it around, because let me tell you, probably don't want him to get another shot at this guy, because they know he wasn't jabbing. So the chances of Gary Russell winning the rematch, especially if it's immediate and his shoulder heals quickly or something, probably a lot of people probably won't want to see that. I mean, I would now. Gary Russell has got a fan, because I think, man, if you going in here, you hurt, you obviously hurt, and you in here trying to hang in here, and you're doing a damn good job. If he didn't have that defense, he could have got stopped. If he didn't have that straight left hand the whole time to keep old boy a little bit at bay, he could have got stopped normally. But it wasn't, old boy just wasn't coming in there recklessly, just, without worrying about what was coming back, because he's been knocked down himself or out a time or two. So let's just say it's a good effort for both of these guys. It's a close fight, but I do say this. It has to be a rematch, right? An immediate rematch, because Gary Russell was obviously hurt, and I think he put up a valiant effort for somebody obviously hurt against a bigger guy. What you think, guys? Doma Sports Talk, worldwide. And I'm about to hear y'all.